Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bayou Chronicles. We are your hosts. I'm Bethany.
And I'm Crystal. I don't know why we're over enunciating.
I just want to make sure I'm loud because I felt like on last episode my mic just it wasn't doing what it needed to do. So if you hear me do this often, that's just me, I don't know, seeing how my voice, I feel like I'm way too soft-spoken and Crystal's always like telling me to speak up. So
I just feel like I project my voice. Maybe.
I don't know. I think that's why my mom calls me a hippie. I'm very like mellow.
And I'm just like,
I don't
let me project and use my diaphragm.
Yes, and I'm also married to a person that's very loud.
Yeah.
Not meaning to. But we hope you guys are having a wonderful week. This is Sunday, so you're basically starting your week. It's getting going. It's getting going. You're getting ready for that Monday. We all hate it, Garfield style. We've just been, I don't know, we've been all over the place. I feel like me and Crystal, she's got some things going on in her life. She's getting ready to kind of have a career change.
Yes,
for the better.
For the better.
For the better.
I started a new job, so this week is the start of my last week.
Yes, she's fixing a transition, and we've just been all over the place and trying to get caught up on episodes and life, and we're also getting prepared for Halloween. I was downstairs like 5 minutes ago. My kiddos put a few Halloween decorations out, and they are very excited to show her because we got a new little, like the little candy bowls that you put like on your table. I'm using it for that reason, but I know it's supposed to be for trick-or-treaters.
But we just eat a lot of candy.
Let's see. Look,
to be completely honest, if you're not eating candy nonstop
Before
from September
Halloween,
to after Easter,
what
is your life?
It's not
because that's the only time you eat candy, because there's Halloween candy, and then at Christmas time they always have candy.
I've already bought, Crystal's snacking on Snickers.
Yes,
I bought 2 full bags of Snickers, some Skittles. Those are all gone. Skittles were first to go.
Oh, I'm sure.
And probably next time I go to grocery shop, I'll get some peanut butter cups.
Oh, God. Tyler and I are supposed to have a date night after this. Like, he wants to go eat after this somewhere. I don't know, at like 10 o'clock at night, I guess. But I am, like, trying to think of ways in my head that I can convince him to go to Target, because I put out my Halloween blankets and I got all my fall Halloween stuff out. I did the same thing as you. I changed my little front door wreath thingy to my little,
that was the first thing
I have like a sugar skull wreath that I put out. I did all of that, and I was like, I need more Halloween blankets. I need more Halloween candy. I need more Halloween everything. So
if we could have got that black silky one we saw at Home Goods, that was $50. Y'all, if y'all have never been to Home Goods, you need to get Home Goods. Me and Crystal just walked around like after dinner
and touched stuff that we couldn't afford.
It was
also, we started a game, which was guess the price before you turn it over and look at it.
Me and Crystal need to go on a game show.
Yes, because we guessed them all.
Oh man,
like didn't get any wrong. So
But we saw this magical, I guess it's supposed to be, I'm air quoting, you guys can't see me, Halloween themed because it's black. But it was $50.
It was the most amazingly
It felt
soft
like heaven.
Blanket. I feel like I would never leave. But I need that for my new job because I get to work from home, you guys.
Yes, she showed me this really awesome chair that she's going to get for her office.
It's a kneeling rocking chair, which apparently is a new thing. But, like, ADHD people love it, and it's how I sit in a chair. It's literally, look, I always sit with my legs up.
Right now, yeah.
Like, I bend, and, like, apparently that's really good for how your posture when you're, like, sitting at a desk all day. So I bought that, and I'm trying to convince myself that I'm never allowed to work in bed because I will be really lazy if I work in bed. And so,
can you imagine, though?
I would get nothing done because I am having flashbacks to being in college, and I would always tell myself, I'm going to work in bed, and I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to work, and I would immediately fall asleep.
That's me. That's me in college saying, I'll finish this paper by Friday because it needs to be turned in Saturday before midnight.
I'm asleep. I'm asleep.
No, I'm asleep, and I'm scrounging Saturday night. So literally
what it would happen, yes, every time, like when I was living in New Orleans, it was me sitting on my couch just popped. This is really bad. So if you're family and you're listening, I am not a drug addict. I would pop a Vyvanse, an extra Vyvanse for ADHD, and stay up a full over 24 hours and just write. And I'm telling you, this wasn't like a 3-page paper. This was write a 12 to 15-page paper about a topic that I barely did research on, and somehow get an A. Never knew how.
We are still writing episodes.
That's how we write episodes.
Yep. I was literally hunched over my computer right before I went to pick Crystal up.
Dude, I write these things on my iPad and then I move stuff over.
Yeah.
I was at the dentist's office the other day and I was just typing
writing notes on your phone. Yeah, I'll be grocery shopping. I'm like, I gotta write this down.
That's a great thought. I should say that on the podcast.
Anyways, we're trying something new here. We normally don't like to be those people that ramble in the beginning of the episodes, but I'll be honest, we're gonna be super honest. Me and Crystal are running out of intros. So we're just gonna start talking about our lives and our weeks, and maybe you guys like it.
If you hate it, you hate it.
If you want the generic intros back, it'll probably be back here next week, because I think I wrote a pretty juicy one. Yeah. So yeah.
Normally I write the whole podcast and I go back and say, what can I write about for this intro? And I'm like, I have nothing.
Normally she's like, Bethany, just wing it. And I'm like, we're gonna ramble. Yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna pass this episode over to Crystal.
Okay. That was it? Okay, great. Okay.
Slide on in, go.
Yeah, slide on in.
Go, Tiger.
Yay. Okay, so we're just gonna go. We're gonna start. I'm gonna be throwing... Do you know anything about this case?
I know some about it.
Okay. Well, either way, if y'all don't know about it, obviously you've already read the little title card, and so you know that this is about the Jeff Davis 8, or the Jennings 8, however you want to, refer to it. But I'm going to be throwing a crap ton of info at you, and I'm going to be throwing names, probably some locations, dates. It's a lot of info. I'm really going to try to make this one episode. It's like 10 pages that I wrote, so...
I'll be honest, she texted me earlier today, and she's like, this might be a 2-parter, and I'm like, well, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, so we're gonna see. If it's just a really long episode, I'm sorry, you have to listen to it in multiple parts, but enjoy, and I guarantee you, if this is a long episode, you're not gonna want to stop listening, so enjoy. Anyway, so if you're lost, just tell me to slow down.
She was confident. And that you were like, they will be coming for a part.
You will be coming for a part 2 if there is one. And if you have to pause, go to work, you will be like, when can I listen again? Because you're gonna want to know these juicy details. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you know now, you're not gonna get the ending you want. So
I feel like that's me watching Only Murders in the Building right now.
Yes, you're not gonna get the ending.
Like I'm waiting every Monday night. Like, is it 11 p.m. yet?
No, it's a good show though.
It is.
Great show.
Hulu, shout us out, please.
So, if you're lost, let me know. If you're lost and you listen to this whole thing and you're still lost, please message me. I will talk to you about this case because I am intrigued. So, journalist Ethan Brown is like the expert basically on this, and he has conducted thousands and thousands of hours of research into this case, and it has resulted in a book that he wrote and him being part of a television documentary on Showtime. Yes, I did get a free trial of Showtime just so I could binge this series. It's 4 episodes or 5 episodes. I've watched it twice because it was that good. Like back to back. Like I finished it and then rewatched the whole thing because it was that good. The book, if you have a Libby account with your local library, you can rent it. You can borrow the book for free. Great book. There's also a really lengthy article that he wrote for Medium.com, which is kind of like how this whole thing started. He is a journalist from South Louisiana. If you finish this and just want a little bit more information, I would probably start with the article. Because it's probably maybe depending on how fast you read, maybe a 15-minute read, if that. Read that, and then I would, depending on the type of person you are, either read the book or the television documentary. They both go into a whole lot of detail. Obviously, the book is a lot more detail, but it's so good. Let me tell y'all, they're both good. Anyway, without his research, though, I don't think these cases or this case would have ever received the attention that it has. So today I am going to tell you about the Jeff Davis 8. And they were nothing basic about this, but they were essentially a group of 8 women who were involved in the drug and prostitution areas of the south side of Jennings, Louisiana. Which, if you aren't familiar, not from Louisiana, that is southwest Louisiana. So, anyway. And basically, this whole town is, like, centered around the interstate, I-10, that kind of runs from, like, Houston through New Orleans and stuff. It's basically sit right on there. So, you're going to get a lot of people coming through and everything, but that's why the city's there, basically. So I want to start off by kind of giving the detailing of the key people, the key victims of this story. Ethan does this in his book at the very beginning in a much more broader context than I am doing. And it helps a lot when it comes to reading the book. And I wish I would have read all of that before I watched the documentary, because it helped me when I watched the documentary too. Considering that Jennings has about 10,000 people total, it shouldn't surprise you that a lot of the people either share last names with each other, or know each other. Like, it's a small town. It's 10,000 people. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure we got more than 10,000 people on this base right now. So.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that's probably a dramatic number, but I feel like it's probably
a lot. So let's start with the ladies. I'm going to go through them. So you have Loretta Shawshon. I know I'm a Louisianian. I'm probably going to butcher these, but it's Shawshon. Okay, she was found dead again, I'm probably going to butcher this too because it's the nature of the true crime beast. She was found in Grand Marais. I'm going to go with Marais. Butcher me, Ainsley, if you hear me. I asked you how to say this and you didn't answer me, so I tried. She was found in May of 2005, and she was 28 years old. Next was Ernestine Patterson, who was 30 years old, and she was found in June of 2005, so just a month later. Kristen Lopez was found in March of 2007, and she was 21. Whitney Dubois was found in May of 2007, and she was 26. Laconia Muggy, as she'll be referred to, Brown, was found in May of 2008, and she was 23. Crystal Zeno was found in August of 2008, and she was 24. Brittany Gary was killed in November of 2008. Did I say 2004? 2008. May 2008, August 2008, and November 2008. Brittany was 17 years old, though, so she's the youngest.
Jeez.
And then last was Nicole Guillory, who was killed in August of 2009, and she was 26.
So they were all in their 20s except for Brittany.
Mm-hmm. Or Ernestine. Ernestine was 30.
Oh, well, yeah.
And then Brittany was 17. So, honestly, I debated how to tell this story. And there's a couple of different ways you could tell it. You could tell this story, documenting each individual thing that happened and then going back and touching on stuff. Or you can kind of go through it chronologically. No matter how you do it, it's a lot of information and it's very, very confusing. You really almost have to let yourself be immersed in the whole situation and small town aspect and just really recognize that every single piece is connected. And something that people say over and over about this case is that some people thought that it was a serial killer. But everyone keeps coming back to the idea that there's no possible way that it could be a serial killer. I mean, it could, but it's highly unlikely considering that one of the key tenets of a serial killer is that they kill people who are not associated with them and that are not, they don't know each other. They try their best to pick victims who are, not associated with them or each other, just because you don't want to pick too many people because then you draw attention if you killed, a whole sorority house of sisters.
Yeah.
You draw attention. Anyway, so I have decided that I'm just going to tell you the same way I would like to hear it. It's a little confusing, but I really just wanted to tell everyone a little bit about each individual woman that was killed and about the insane, crazy, ridiculous corruption that exists in Jennings, because this is beyond just their murders. So I'm going to set the stage. Jennings is a tiny Louisiana town with not a lot of people, but it has a very, very bad drug problem that has basically separated the town in half.
Sounds like all of Louisiana.
All of Louisiana. Some of the women from the South Side area had eventually turned to selling their bodies for drugs. Prostitution is everywhere. There's never going to be a town that doesn't have prostitution of some kind. And one of these particular women was 28-year-old Loretta, oh my God, I can't say her name, Shawshon. I'm going to say it. I'm just going to remember it for the rest of my life after this. Shawshon. Like, it's S-H-A. Like when you're telling, like from, like, South Louisiana, you'd be like, oh, Shaw. Like,
yeah.
Shawshon. I can't say it.
Think of chiffon.
Oh,
chiffon.
Shawshon. Anyway.
Same.
Anyway.
It's fresh words.
She was a mom. She had 2 boys, and she loved them a lot. Unfortunately, she also had a drug problem, and her friends and family insist that her drug problem didn't stop her from being a great mom, and that she would try to make an effort to talk to her kids at least every day. Obviously, sometimes she'd go on a bender and she wasn't able to, but they said that she would try to talk to her kids every single day. On May the 20th, 2005, a man spotted her body in the water at Grand Marais, I don't know, canal.
I don't know on that one. I'm not even going to pretend I don't even know.
Hey, I looked it up, and I looked up how to say it, and like I said, I texted and said, hey, guys, how do I say this? I said, is it
Marais?
Or Marais?
I think it's Marais.
Marais, Grand Marais Canal.
You don't pronounce the S in Dubois.
Yeah.
So
I think it's Grand Marais Canal. Her body was found in blue jeans and a white shirt, which was really creepy because when I actually wrote this, I was wearing blue jeans and a white shirt. Kind of creeped me out a little bit, but whatever.
Why did that make me think of Mean Girls when you were saying that? I don't know why.
I don't know why either. The only sign of injury on her entire body was a small amount of blood on her scalp. Like, that's it. Her cause of death was unknown, and no one knew if this was an accidental overdose or if she was just murdered. At this point, her friends and family had no idea she was even missing. They had just thought that she had gone on like some sort of like bender and just kind of lost track of the days. It wasn't until Deputy Sheriff Terry Guillory visited a friend of Loretta's asking if that friend had seen her, and that was when friends and family realized something was wrong.
Okay, you're probably gonna say it, but is this sheriff related to the victim? Because they got the same last name. Did you pick up on? Okay. Okay, never mind.
You always spoil stuff.
I'm not trying to spoil it.
No, you'll see.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Okay.
How about I say that? Keep you.
Part-time detective. I saw that and I was like, that's the same.
Yeah. Yes and no. Following the death of Loretta, police and the public started asking questions about who was responsible and why this happened. One of the most popular suspects is a man named Frankie Richard. According to his own words, he would pimp out the girls, but he insisted that he was their friend and that they shared a bond, and that I think he goes as far as saying he was there for them at their lowest and they were there for him at his lowest.
So he's a good pimp.
Basically, that's the vibe that I got he was trying to give off, is that he actually cared about him. But from the beginning, Sheriff Ricky Edwards led the case and focused solely on Frankie. Frankie Richard was a former oil worker who had turned into Jennings' most well-known drug dealer and prostitution runner. really and truly, he was the guy that everybody was afraid of, had a bunch of men working underneath him. He was just there to, I guess, mess stuff up and run Jennings, for lack of a better word. The investigation into Loretta's death wouldn't be the last time the police would suspect him, and over the course of the investigation, they would learn that Loretta was last seen getting into a car with Frankie by her brother. They determined that she had done cocaine by doing a drug panel, I guess, basically. They determined that she had done cocaine before.
A
toxicology report, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And they determined that she had done cocaine right before she died.
Figure out what you were...
I couldn't think of the word.
I got what you were putting down.
Yeah.
I was just watching you trying to
describe it, a drug panel. I didn't know what you'd call it.
She's doing all kinds of hand gestures over here. I wish y'all could see it.
Anyway, they determined that she had done cocaine before she died with a dealer and Muggy Brown and Nicole Guillory. So the three of them and another guy had all done cocaine before she died.
Okay. How do they not think all this is...
Yeah. Okay. So later on during I don't have this in my notes, but I'll tell you this as a little side note. Later on in the investigation, there is a theory that some witnesses came forward and said that what happened was Loretta ended up having a seizure around a bunch of people later that night, and everyone panicked and they just threw her body in the canal. But no one ever could prove that. That's just what people said happened.
I am not condoning doing drugs like this, but if you are going to partake in drugs like this, do it around people that have a little bit of common sense.
I agree.
And know that if you're having a seizure, not to throw your body into water.
Side note, I had a dream last night that I went to the store and just casually bought mushrooms and was going to do them, and they were just like in a little bag, and you could just like put them on the counters like at a gas station. I don't know why I had that dream.
Maybe
it was a crazy dream
into the future.
I don't know. It was the craziest dream, but I was like, oh.
Imagine going into like 7-Eleven
and just like
buying mushrooms,
buying this cute little bag of mushrooms. Yeah, it was weird. It was anyway. 2 years after they found Loretta, the body of another woman was found in the water. According to police, this was 30-year-old Ernestine Patterson. Her family said that Ernestine was just the result of a few poor choices. She was a faithful churchgoer until she divorced her husband and moved in with her boyfriend, and then just started making some really crappy decisions about trying drugs, and what drugs led to hustling, and just one thing led to another, and she just kind of went from this faithful church-going woman to fully into this life of prostitution and drugs. She was also a very tiny woman. She was barely 5'4" and weighed roughly 82 pounds. Unlike Loretta, who was found without a scratch on her, Ernestine was found with a massive incision on her neck. Also, unlike Loretta, police had a lead on her death from the get-go. In Ethan Brown's book, he uncovered that the last night that Ernestine was seen, she had had sex with a man named Byron Jones. Apparently, it was planned that him and his friend Lawrence Nixon were both going to have sex with her. At some point, Lawrence and Byron came back to Lawrence's home where his wife was. Lawrence's wife was cooking. She says that she remembers this night because she was cooking fried chicken and french fries that she was making. And she said that she was cooking when Lawrence and Byron came back to the house, and she details that both men came back to the house with a large trash bag that was dripping with blood and set it on her porch, and Lawrence admitted that they had cut Ernestine's throat. You should see Bethany's face, guys.
Okay, well, first off, this dude's got a whole wife, and
Yes.
he's planning a
Yes.
threesome,
Yes.
and then you come home.
Yes. I was going to casually gross over that, but the entire time I'm reading this is just like, did his wife not care? Like,
And her thing is, oh yeah, I remember, because I
remember I was making fried chicken french fries.
What?
I don't know. Anyway, according to Ethan Brown, this was somewhat confirmed because his wife's daughter told investigators that she saw Lawrence come home covered in blood and that he had been given massive trash bags by a man who actually ended up being Ernestine's uncle. This was pure coincidence, though. The uncle just so happened to be Lawrence's neighbor. Sources claim that Muggy Brown witnessed this murder but did not say anything to the police about it. She was known to hang out with these men and admitted to knowing that Ernestine was killed with a hunting knife, which lined up with the knife that Lawrence's wife claimed was at her home after the murder. No charges were laid, nor was Lawrence's home even investigated until well over a year and a half after the murder. And of course, at this time, there was nothing there. Bethany's faces again.
How do you not investigate this for a year?
Because you'll see. You'll see. 2 years later, in May of 2007, 21-year-old Kristen Lopez would be found in Petit Jean Canal. I can say that one.
Yeah.
With severe injuries that were caused by animals attacking her body post-death. Like it said, it looked like an alligator had just taken a bite of her head and her neck area. Kristen, like many of the other girls, was alienated from her family and had a rough childhood. She was sexually assaulted when she was a teenager and would spend most of her time in the south side of Jennings. Kristen was a regular at a pay-by-the-hour hotel called the Boudreaux. Remember this place? The Boudreaux was known as a hot spot for both prostitution and drugs. She was also very friendly with Frankie Richard, a man that she often called Uncle Frankie due to the fact that she grew up around him and his family. On her last day, she was they witnessed her doing it, and he admitted. But the last day, she was begging Frankie for permission to stay at his room at the Boudreaux because she didn't have a place to stay. She was just finding places to sleep every night. And she wanted to stay there. But he refused because he suspected her and her friend Tracy, who is also the cousin of Loretta, of stealing from him. So she gave up and ended up going to another house on Frank Street that was known to be another place that people go to do drugs. And the last person known to have seen her was Tracy when she left that house on Frank Street. And no one knows what happened to her after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Whitney Dubois was found in the middle of the road by a man who said he had spotted her as he was driving. She was found nude with a few bruises, but like Loretta, she had no major injuries. There were also no leads around her time, around this time around her death, and there wouldn't really be any kind of information about her death until well after the 7th murder. And at that point, that's when the witness told investigators that they were riding in the car with a man who discovered the body, whose name was Jamie Trahan. They claimed that Jamie swerved out of the road to miss something, and as they swerved, they saw the body. And Jamie tried to convince them that it wasn't a body and dropped them off at the hotel. So the way they described it, it was like he knew it was in the road before he even saw it.
So why drive by there?
Also, great question. Great question. Whitney was involved in the same lifestyle as the other girls. She was taken from her mom at a young age and raised by an honestly great family, in my opinion, who adopted her. But before they were able to adopt her, she was sexually assaulted and beaten by several men who were her biological mother's boyfriends and husbands. This large family that she was adopted into was a stable home, but her past trauma was something that she was never really able to fully escape. and I feel bad for her. You know, like
That's tough.
that's tough.
You're young,
yeah.
and it's supposed to be your mom, and
It's hard. A year later, hold on, I lost my spot. Okay, by now it shouldn't surprise you that Frankie knew Whitney as well.
well, yeah,
It was then during this time that after her death that police started to really focus in on him. Police felt that they had enough to charge Frankie and his niece Hannah with the murder of Kristen. Tracy had claimed that Frankie beat Hannah and Kristen and Hannah held her under the water until she drowned.
Jeez.
Frankie claims that it happened a total other way, that someone who he completely refuses to name beat her and killed her, and that Tracy and another sex worker set Kristen up to be killed. In the end, the DA decided not to prosecute the case, and the charges were completely dropped on Frankie and his niece Hannah. Okay?
So basically, if you kill somebody that's a drug addict or a prostitute, you can get away with it because nobody's gonna care.
Yes, basically. Disgusting.
Disgusting.
A year later, the next of the Jeff Davis 8 would be found, Muggy Brown. If you remember, Muggy claimed to have witnessed the death of Ernestine in 2005. And you could almost claim that Muggy was the start of when people started to realize that something was going on and there may be a conspiracy behind it all. Because at this point, also, she was doing cocaine with Loretta the night before she died.
Yeah.
So she's obviously not necessarily involved, but
She's not innocent.
She's not innocent. She knows what's going on. She's around these people. It would all soon be revealed that Muggy had also saw Loretta's body in the canal a few days before it was found, but again did not say anything to anyone about it. Muggy was also involved in the worlds of these girls, and so she kind of knew that it wouldn't be long before something would happen to her.
Which is terrifying.
Just terrifying. But like she knew that she'd seen enough that something was probably going to happen to her.
She probably felt like nobody would believe her or defend her, take her side. She's just a druggie. She's a prostitute.
Now, I didn't put this in the notes again because there's a lot of information, but I do feel like this could add on to another part. But there was another rape that was associated with this case. And this rape happened basically because what happened was Muggy took... Not Muggy. Another sex worker lured this girl to Lawrence and his wife's house. Okay? And Muggy took the girl in there, and they were all going to come down they were going to smoke some pot and come down off this other high that they were on. And while they were in there, all the girls left this one girl get raped by this other man. And the reason they did it was so that was their payment for some crack that they wanted. As this girl was raped, she got her stuff together. Everyone saw that she got raped and knew it. She ran outside, and there were cops already outside talking to Lawrence about another issue. The girl said, "Hey, I've been raped. Everyone here is part of it, and this, they're the reason I got raped and this happened." And they were all arrested for conspiracy to commit forced rape or some weird charge. But basically the girl got intimidated and a few months later completely dropped all the charges against everybody. So they all kind of got away with that again. So it's just one thing after another.
I don't know. I try not to judge people that have drug addictions. I know it can be hard. I'm very much addicted to sugar. So,
yeah.
Me and Crystal just snacked on, she had some Snicker bars and I had some Oreo cookies before we came into the studio to record. But I can't justify somebody being so addicted to drugs that they let another woman get raped.
Yes, no, that's not okay.
For drugs.
Absolutely not okay. But anyway, I think Muggy knew that her time was coming. And after her boyfriend pinned a robbery on her, she was essentially on the run. Because he robbed somebody, he said his girl did it, and this guy was out for blood. During a family barbecue, she made sure that her son knew that she loved him, and she booked a train ticket out of town. She did end up calling her grandmother on the last day that anyone heard from her, which was May 27th, and called her and asked her to not tell her boyfriend Stymie that she called and that she was just going out of town.
That's creepy. That's my birthday.
March. Oh, it is your birthday.
Yeah.
That is weird. Sorry. Oops. Muggy would be found on a road, fully clothed, but with massive injuries. She had cuts all over her head and neck, and it was during her autopsy that Muggy's loved ones and other Jeff Davis 8 victims started to consider that these murders might have been committed by a member of law enforcement, just based off of like some of the stuff that had happened to him, the way it was happened, the way she was dumped.
They all knew each other.
They all knew each other.
Area.
Yeah. So if that's what the case was, then who was it? Who was committing these? So next is Crystal Zeno, who, like the other girls, struggled with a drug addiction and mental health issues. She was really close to 17-year-old Brittany Gary, who was also involved in the same lifestyle. The two women actually lived together and sometimes would like trick together. Like they wouldn't sleep with each other, but they'd be like in the same area. At one point, someone did ask them to sleep together, and they're like, no, we don't do that, but we'll sleep with you, but not with each other. On August 29, 2018, she was seen outside of a gas station where she would make a phone call to Terry Guillory. Do you remember him?
Yeah, he's the sheriff.
Yeah, not the sheriff, but he's a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah.
He's the man who mentioned to Loretta's friend that she was missing. Associates of Frankie were then seen picking up Crystal, and a witness saw a group of African American men leaving the spot. Were leaving the spot where they picked her up, and getting into a white truck. This same type of truck that was seen picking Crystal up. So they see that truck, and then they see it later on where she was dumped. That's basically what I'm saying. Very poorly, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
She wouldn't be found for nearly 2 weeks when some hunters would find her out in the middle of the woods in that same spot. So basically, there was somebody that was, I believe, in a hotel, and they just kind of happened to see this truck, and this big group of men come out of the woods and get into this truck, and then like didn't think nothing of it, and then a couple weeks later they heard it, and then like, oh yeah, I saw that kind of thing. Anyway, Deputy Terry went to inform Crystal's family that she had been found, and according to her mother, told them that Crystal was dead, but that he, quote, didn't kill her. This was strange because...
Wait, the deputy said he didn't kill her?
Yes.
Oh my god, dude.
This was strange because her body wouldn't be officially identified for nearly 2 months. When her mother asked him how he knew it was her, he stated that there was a tattoo near her pubic area, something that he would have only seen if he had been intimate with her. That's how he knew it was her, because everything else about her was so messed up, but he saw that tattoo and he knew.
How is this not a no-brainer? This deputy, first off, what deputy comes to your house and says, oh, your loved one's dead, and by the way, I didn't kill them. Oh, and she has a tattoo above her hoo-ha.
And that's why I know it's her. Yeah. It was discovered that Terry was not only close to Crystal, but also Loretta. Terry was the parish warden of the jail and basically had access to all of them.
Oh, good.
All of the girls had arrest records for drugs and theft charges, and these arrests meant nights in jail. A cellmate stated that she had caught Loretta and Terry having sex one night when she was unable to sleep. Loretta admitted to having sex with a married Terry at the time, and said that it just kind of happened all the time.
I mean, so is Lawrence's wife, you know.
Yeah, they don't care, I guess.
Fried chicken and fries.
Terry coming to tell Crystal's mom that she was dead made Loretta's friend feel even weirder about her conversation with him, because he also showed up at her door and said, hey, Loretta's missing. Have you seen her? No one else knew she was missing. So why was, none of her friends and family knew she was missing. So how did he know she was missing? Why was he looking for her to even know she was missing?
This is a no-brainer for me.
Next, Brittany was only 17. She was not fully immersed in the lifestyle. She still had a lot of her little teenage ways. She liked to paint her nails and do little girly stuff. And, she was just kind of in a bad situation. But she was around people who were really deep in this. This really led to her experimenting with drugs. And after the death of Crystal, it only got worse. And that's when she started to expand her role in sex work. Even though she was young, she was aware of the danger that she was in, and she openly told her sister that she was afraid of the police. It wasn't long that she would go missing, and that her body would be found on November 15th, 2008, in the tall grass by the side of the road. She was laying in the fetal position and had been there for several weeks. She had no injuries, leading the investigators to believe that she had been suffocated.
So she wasn't afraid of sleeping with strange men. She was afraid of the police.
Yes.
Okay, another red flag.
Brittany also shared a major link with one of the other previous victims. She was cousins with Kristen Lopez.
Gosh.
According to Ethan Brown, she was also mentored by Muggy on the streets and was around Frankie, obviously. She tricked with Crystal, and her mother listed Frankie's niece, Hannah, who was arrested for Kristen's murder, number on her missing persons poster with hers. So it was her number and Hannah's. This only further shows how well involved all of the women were in the city and how just they knew each other. Everybody knew each other. So, hold on. The story is literally only going to get wilder. On the night that she went missing, she visited a Family Dollar to buy minutes to put on her phone.
Yeah.
And she ended up getting a ride with Deputy Danny Barry.
Another deputy.
Who picked her up and took her back to his trailer.
Oh, my God.
Several sex workers mentioned that Danny was a popular client who would pick up girls with his wife.
Oh.
Basically, his wife would, they'd pick him up, he'd bring him back, his wife would get him liquored up, and then he would go have his way with him. According to these women, he had a room in his trailer that was covered from ceiling to floor with plastic sheeting and had chains hanging from the ceiling because he was into really rough. I wouldn't even give it the part. I don't even know what the word I'm trying to look for, but I wouldn't even call it BDSM because there was nothing consensual about this almost. I guess it was because they were trying to make money and they were just doing it because he would pay them.
Yeah.
It was more of they were being beaten, there was nothing pleasurable about this for these women. Ethan Brown writes that law enforcement sources stated that Brittany partied with Danny and even smoked crack with him.
Wait, with the police?
With the police officer.
Hell yeah, brother. Oh,
the same source says that Danny strangled her and dumped her body on November 4th. Other witnesses claim that Danny did not act alone and that Frankie helped him, and they helped him kill her and dump Brittany. Frankie still denies anything to do with hurting these girls. He is and has been pretty open to talking about his relationship with the women and doesn't really turn down interviews, and there's very few things he won't talk about. He was, however, quick to point out that Danny should be the main suspect, stating the fact that they were all found so close to his house, and I think they said that all the women were found within a 3-mile radius of the house.
How is that not suspicious, though?
I don't know. It's a great question. Danny can't defend himself, though, because he died in 2010.
As he should.
Even though there are some things that point to him being responsible for some of these deaths, does that really mean we should stop investigating? Because to me, it doesn't. If he was the killer, though, wouldn't people feel safer to tell their story? Wouldn't they be okay, he's dead, I can tell my story now, I can admit that he did it?
Not if he wasn't the only one involved.
Exactly. So, next, Nicole Guillory. She is indeed related to our deputy Terry. They are cousins, but according to Nicole, Terry wanted more.
Oh.
Yes, this is going where you think it's going.
I don't mean to laugh. It's a nervous. I'm like itching over here.
Nicole told her family that Terry had made the remark that they weren't the closest of cousins and that it was mostly by marriage that they were related.
That's not how that works. That's not how that works.
And that he had wanted a sexual relationship with her.
Oh,
Most famously, Nicole had some sort of I say it's just like this feeling. She just acknowledged that she knew that she was not going to be here very long. When her mom purchased a cake mix and icing for her, she told her mom not to worry about it because she knew that she wasn't going to be here to celebrate her birthday. Her family begged her for a name or anything that she could tell them about who was after her, but she refused for fear of her family getting hurt. She wanted to protect them. She knew something was going to happen to her any day now, but she wanted to protect her family.
that's so sad.
When she went missing, it was discovered that Ernestine's father, Jeff, had actually picked her up and drove her around town for about 20 minutes before he dropped her off. He claimed that he never saw her again after that, and when she was discovered, she had no major injuries and just a few cuts on her body.
Man, this is the smallest town.
I told you, everybody knows each other.
And drives with and drops off and talks to.
So now that there has been 8 women killed in this small area, they are looking for an answer. The FBI is brought in, and there's a joint task force that seems to be doing nothing. And this task force was actually formed before some of the victims even happened. Actually, Nicole Guillory died after the task force was created.
They knew the FBI was there and still killed. Oh god!
It was discovered that each of these women had actually also been informants for the sheriff's office at one point or another, and that was one of the reasons why none of them ever seemed to have charges that stuck. They had all of these arrests, but they would always somehow find a way to get out of them, and this is why. They would get caught, and in exchange for freedom, they would give information about other events that happened in Jennings.
But it's not all the exchange.
Yeah, so think about it. For example, how Muggy can say that she saw one thing, she can get arrested, say, I saw this, and that gets her out. In an effort to show the mistrust this city has of the police, there is a story about a man named Stephen Gunter. Stephen had a drug problem and an anger problem, and he actually lived near the Boudreaux. He was also Crystal's cousin and was friends with several police officers. Stephen and his girlfriend had gotten in a huge fight, and the police were called. They were trying to talk down the situation, but it just wasn't happening. He was screaming at them to leave, get off his property, telling him he's not coming out of his house, whatever. Suddenly, a sheriff's detective and Terry Guillory, who remember is a jail warden, show up to the scene.
Why?
Terry took a shotgun and entered the house through the back. He announced himself and was like, hey, Stephen, it's Terry. I'm coming in.
A shotgun?
Yeah.
What happened to a pistol?
And found Stephen sitting on the couch. He claims that Stephen shot at him and Terry fired several rounds back. It eventually was ruled a justified killing.
I'm sorry. 6 shots with a shotgun at one person is justified?
It was ruled a justified killing. And so here we are. A jail warden taking over a hostage situation when he has no experience with hostage negotiations. And it ended with someone being dead.
I don't understand.
Terry claimed that Stephen's hands were on the gun when he shot. Yet, Stephen had gunshots to the palm of his hands.
He was holding his hands up.
Yeah.
Over his face.
Yeah. According to the coroner, Stephen had no gunshot residue on either of his hands. Something that would be later claimed as false, as another coroner said that there was no way to determine because they never tested his hands, even though the first coroner said, I tested his hands, and there was no gunshot residue on his hands.
What is this town?
So, Jefferson Davis has one of the worst homicide rates, like closing rates, in the entire country. The national closing rate is 64%. So that means if there's a murder, they are able to close 64% of them, which I think is super low and absolutely ridiculous in my opinion, but it is what it is, I guess. Jefferson Davis Paris has a rate of less than 7%.
That can't be real.
So less than 7% of the homicides in their parish ever get solved. That is the statistic. That is the statistic.
What?
Yes. I know you don't believe me, but that is 100% the truth.
I gotta tell you, a minute.
So there have been several articles and several TV shows about this area of Louisiana, but nothing ever really seems to change. There does seem to be some very big conspiracy with their sheriff, Edwards, but he's always quick to never talk about it, deflect blame, say that there's nothing he could do, say that he can't solve the homicide of the girls because they don't have any information, blah, 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 blah. So, two of the most popular scandals that have also come out about this area that are connected, I guess, I say they're connected, is the primetime investigation surrounding the police and another one around a senator named Charles Bustany. So during the course of the investigation, it was revealed that several members of law enforcement were accessing evidence lockers and taking drugs and money. Like, high up people were taking drugs and money from lockers. They were also mishandling evidence. In one case, it actually got Terry Guillory, his wife, was fired for mishandling evidence. She was a sheriff officer too.
Of course. Like, I feel like this whole town is part of the sheriff's department.
You're either rich, a sheriff's officer, or a prostitute.
Jesus.
Or a drug dealer.
Jesus.
So she was fired. A law in the parish allowed police to stop people with absolutely no cause and take whatever they wanted from their car.
How was his wife fired, but all these other people are selling drugs?
I don't know. So this started to get complaints from travelers of I-10 because basically they were being looted. So you would get pulled over, they'd go through your car, be like, oh, you got drugs, I'm just going to let you go, but I'm going to take all your drugs. Or, oh, I'm going to take all of your money that you have in your wallet. Or I'm going to take this computer that's in the back of your car.
I'm sorry, you got me all the way messed up. No. Yeah. I'm not even going to stop for an unmarked car, so.
No. So, when Dateline News came to town to interview, because they had started getting reports of this, they had hooked up their entire car with, like, audio and visual stuff, but they obviously didn't tell. They were really and truly just drug driving into town so that they could interview the sheriff. Well, literally on their way into town, they get pulled over by the cops for absolutely no reason. And what was so funny is in the documentary they mentioned that the speed limit is 65 and they purposely put a blocker on their car that would not allow them to go above 65 to see if they'd get pulled over. And guess what they got pulled over for?
Speeding.
Yeah. So,
of course.
They interviewed the sheriff. He denied everything, said that everything they do is justified, and blah 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 blah. Nothing ever changed. Never did change, but I guess you could say it got better. It doesn't seem like it did.
How are more people not talking about this?
I don't know.
How am I really not? I mean, I know of this.
Like, I feel like for me, I just knew of the Jeff Davis 8. Like, I knew there was 8 ladies who died.
I'm pretty sure I saw something on, like, A&E.
Yeah.
A documentary or something. But, like, why is this not, like, I don't know.
Yeah. So, the next one is about the Senator Charles Bustany. So it was revealed that Charles Bustany had a man on his payroll known as Big G, basically. And Big G ran the Boudreaux Inn.
Oh, man.
And Big G had everything to do with renting this stuff out to people by the hour, was all involved in, knew that drug stuff was happening. There was no way that anyone didn't know that drug stuff was happening.
Have you seen that movie with The Rock, Walking Tall?
No, I haven't. Is this still the same thing?
Holy moly. Like, I feel like, I wonder if they based that movie off of this town.
I don't know. I know that this case in this town had a lot to do with the HBO series True Detective, the first season.
What, really? I watched that. It's great.
Yeah.
Anyways, Walking Tall has Rock in it and basically discovers that his small town is just like a big hub for drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops are in on it and everything, and the businesses go along with it because it's bringing them in money.
Yeah. I mean, it probably had something to do with it.
They basically use all the women in the town to do all this.
I mean, it sounds like the plot. Maybe it did. Well, anyway, Big G and has all these girls prostituting in there, not doing anything about it, and he works for Charles Bustany, who is
the senator.
Who was a senator, or running for Senate or something like that. And he denies once they find out that he's connected, and Ethan Brown is just like, hey man, you care to comment on this?
See, normally in situations like that, they resign.
Yeah. Well, he kind of goes off and says, I had nothing to do with this. I didn't know he was part of that. We let him go as soon as we found out. And at first he says that he's never been there before. Well, then he changes his story and says, yes, he has been there before. To Boudreaux Inn. And it was just one time for some kind of talk or something that he had to do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then you find out that both Kristen and Loretta had talked a lot about how that they had slept with a senator. And then it was confirmed that the senator that they were talking about was Charles Bustany. And it was because one of the girls, friends of the girls, says that they were driving down the road, and it was Tracy, the one that's her cousin, Loretta's cousin, said that they were driving down the road and she saw one of his signs on the side of the road and said, I've slept with that man.
Okay.
So currently where we're at now is they have a new sheriff who ran on the entire platform that he was going to solve this case and that he was going to find out what happened to these girls.
Wow.
Nothing has been done to find out what happened to these girls. It is still unsolved. Did Lawrence and Byron kill Ernestine? I don't know.
It's like you gotta...
I don't know.
You gotta be a certain type of person for people to care and really get yourself on the media and people to find justice. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't matter who you are, what you do, where you're from. In this instance, from the absolute worst town ever in the U.S., apparently. Mm-hmm. And I'm from Florida. Mm-hmm. Like, this literally doesn't sound... None of this seems real. It literally sounds like Crystal just sat here and told us the plot of a movie. A made-up movie.
No. And I will let y'all know, I know we're probably closing in on an hour into this, but, like, there's so much more that I can't tell you because I could go on for days. More people are interconnected. More people witnessed things. More people talked about things. More conspiracy among the police. More police being involved in crazy stuff. Like, it literally goes on and on and on and on.
Maybe we do a mini episode where we do a part 2 where Crystal comes in and gives us all the conspiracy theories.
I mean, I could because, like, this literally... I feel like I just gave you the most high-level overview of this case that I could have possibly gave you. That's why I said I don't feel like I could say enough.
It was superb. It was, mispronouncing all the words. Because we never... I mean, we just go with
I can
it.
say them when I'm back home by myself, and I can practice them because I practice how to say them, but then when we record, I don't know how to say
She
any
really
of it.
does, y'all. Like, we Google it, we look at it, and we're like, Google, how do you say this word? We ask people.
And then when I go to say it out loud when we're recording, I butcher it.
It's every time.
But yeah, I literally have just given you the most high-level overview of this case that I possibly could. I could probably talk for 6 hours about this case. It's literally that detailed. If you would like to hear more, by all means, hear more. Let me know. In the meantime, go get a free 30-day trial of Showtime and watch the documentary. Go read the book.
I'm sure there's something on Amazon Prime.
I think there is. There's a whole other... It's not for free. You have to buy it, though. It's another documentary. But I couldn't find anything free. That's why I did Showtime with a free 7-day or 30-day trial.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
And then after you're like, oh, I didn't cancel it. Or
Oh, well,
I didn't stop it.
I have Capital One, and I just realized it when I did the thing that they sent me an email and said, hey, you started a trial subscription. Would you like us to remind you before your trial is over?
Ooh.
And so you could set it up to remind you in a certain amount of days.
I need that.
I was like, yes.
Oh, my gosh. You know how many times I forget?
Mm-hmm. Yep, so I need to cancel that so I don't get charged. But, yeah, that's the story of the Jeff Davis 8.
Man, I can't... I need people to message us and let us know how you feel about this case because... I don't know. I'm feeling kind of speechless.
Yeah, I don't know who did it. I think multiple people committed these murders. They're not all done by the same person.
I don't necessarily... That's probably going to sound harsh when I say this. I don't necessarily think it matters to me who did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact that 8 women in this town.
And that's not just... It's not just these 8, to be completely honest.
Like so many different aspects.
So there are more women.
Like the woman that was raped.
There's more. There were several women that were raped. There was another woman that was murdered, but she's not included in the Jeff Davis 8. There were murders in between all this of other men. There were murders before this. There was murders after this. There was actually another body found in the same place that Loretta was found just a few years ago.
You got to think about the families that are still living there today that maybe have young daughters, and you can't. Oh, you're not gonna go to the police?
No, you're not going to go to the police. You're not going to go to the police.
That are tied to these murders
You're not
going
to
to
go to the police.
That still haven't been solved.
You're not going to go to the police. Not at all.
If you're still living in that town, you guys are brave.
I mean, I wouldn't be living there. Not even in the slightest.
You can't trust anybody. You can't even trust... Well, we can't trust the senator either, so...
No, you can't. I mean, I don't think he's a senator anymore, but still, I wouldn't live there. I'd be gone a long time ago. Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would not be living there.
Yeah.
So, I feel bad. I feel like the homicide closing rate of less than 70% is absolutely ridiculous. I can't even fathom that you would have a 93% chance of committing a murder and getting away with it.
Heck no. All I think about is when my grandparents first moved to New Orleans.
Are you telling the story?
Okay, I don't know if I've told it on the podcast.
You don't think you told the story?
Anyways, all I can think about, because when I said that I can't believe people still live in this town, my mom was born in New Orleans, and they basically were there because my grandpa was doing a job, and it was kind of hard to find work. So you moved wherever you could find work. And basically, they had my mom there, and a murder. I think they lived close to the 9th Ward. I'm pretty sure down in that area. It's not still today not the best area, but a murder actually happened like right outside their apartment door. And my grandpa actually saw it. And they packed up that night and slept in their car because my grandparents refused to keep their kids there. And I think my mom was like a few months old.
I would have done
They
the same
stayed in
thing.
New Orleans, but not in that area.
No, I would have packed up and said bye.
And then they eventually, when they could, they moved to Florida. So, yeah, I'm just thinking of that.
Bye.
Yeah, I know my grandparents were like, absolutely not keeping my family around this. It still, like, creeps him out today to tell the story when he talks about it. Just the way he describes it creeps me out because I didn't know the human body could do that. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, so, well, I hope everyone enjoyed yet another depressing Crystal episode.
Yeah.
I just come through and deliver on them depressing episodes.
I mean, the next episode isn't that great either, but it's not this level. I feel like
it's a different level of depressing?
It's a different level. I don't want to say tame. That's poor choice of words. And somebody would probably write in that I'm insensitive.
But it's just really depressing?
Yeah, it's depressing, but not in this. This is just corruption.
Oh, yeah, this is
straight
corruption
up
and just horrible.
Like, all around.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is safe in that town.
I don't think anyone gave me the idea for this one. I tried to look and see if someone gave it to me. I think I found this one. I just remember.
List.
Yeah,
I think I wrote it down.
Yeah, I think I wrote it just because I was interested in it.
That's basically how it is. We're normally always texting. Somebody's texting us, or we see a TikTok, or we see something on TV.
I mean, I literally just got messaged one the other day on Instagram, and I was like, adding it now.
I messaged Crystal because her and her husband are going out of the country.
Yeah.
Not
next month.
Yeah. Well, basically, we're all basically in October. And my husband already will be making a guest appearance. I apologize in advance for that because I'm very nervous about it, bringing him on the show.
I think we should let it truly be our first fully explicit episode.
He's already apologized to me in advance because he said it's probably going to be a lot of editing. And I was like, me and Crystal have talked about it. We're just going to go with it. But he brought me a topic, and I've never heard of it before. And I texted Crystal.
Hey, that's how Tyler did with me with his sports topic. I had, never heard of it. I was fully invested in the conspiracy by the end of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it now, though, because I did some research on it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. Are you presenting it, or is he presenting it?
I think I'm going to let him... Yeah. I think I'm going to write most of it up for him because he's not that great in that area of expertise. But he knows about it, so I could probably say
give him notes.
Spill,
yeah,
and then just let him go.
Oh, I'm excited.
Go, Tiger, go.
I'm excited. So it'll come out the day that we're there, right?
I believe so.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna give us a listen from France. Actually, I'll give you two because I think that's the day that we're traveling from France to London, hopefully. So I'll give you two. I'll give us a UK listen and I'll give us a France listen.
Ooh, so exotic.
I know, so exotic and fun. Even though it's going to be a pain in the butt because we have to get a COVID test before we go, a COVID test while we're there, and then another COVID test when we come back just to go to London.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All the COVID tests.
COVID tests are intense.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we got.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Sorry, this is a long episode.
Yeah, it's been long, and I can't believe we haven't done our typical spill, so I'll just end it real quick with it. You can find us on all of our socials. YouTube is Viii Chronicles Podcast, all one word. YouTube, stop being weird about that. We just got 3 new subs in the past 2 days. I don't know what's happening, but thank you guys for 63 subs. That's awesome. We're getting close to 100, which is amazing. You can find us on Instagram, Viii_Chronicles, Twitter, Viii Chronicles. We're on Facebook too.
Yeah.
You guys are on there as well. We try to post everything on all the socials because some people prefer one platform over the other. Mm-hmm. And the last and final one, broken record, because we've been saying this the past
year.
I don't know. We are also on Twitch. Me and Crystal have been talking about maybe we'll start streaming today when we're recording an episode and you guys are listening to us. We just hit 24. I want to say 24 on Twitch.
24 or 25.
We had a great last stream.
Yes, we did.
We had so much fun, and we already have it planned out for October.
We just have to boost up how many times we stream in 30 days. So we might be doing some live ones.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I know this episode was long and kind of
rambly, but we loved it.
Loved it. Anyways, you guys have a great week.
Bye.